everyone. I never know whether to say good morning or good afternoon because I don't know when you're going to be watching this, but I'm just glad that you are watching this from the garage and from the heart. And the audio goes onto a podcast wherever you get your favorite podcast from. If you don't want to watch it on Facebook, that's fine. And then on Friday, jeremycordeaux.com is where we live stream 3 hours. It's for all intents and purposes like the old radio show that I did from 9 o'clock until 12. Guests on Friday, apart from you, of course, and you can ring us. We've got a much better phone now. That first day was a bit hairy, I must admit. But anyway, you know, it's live, so you just have to go through the shakedown and get it right. Guests include Mike Smithson and Marty Smith. Mike Smithson, great newsreader. I've worked with him for years, and Marty Smith, a brilliant producer who was probably and is probably the best producer in Australian radio. And that could go over into television as well, because the principles are the same. It's finding the story, finding the people who'll talk. Well, away we go with another day. I see, sadly, that this week it's 50 years since Joanna Radcliffe and Kirsty Gordon were taken from the Adelaide Oval. 50 years ago. Hard to believe, and still no trace, no closure, no convictions, nothing. How could that possibly be? In broad daylight with so many people watching. You've heard about cold cases. Well, that's about the coldest. Well. Ita Buttrose, chair of the ABC, will step down from the position next March. Now, I wonder how she managed to cope with the criticism and questioning as to how she could have possibly allowed the animals to continue to run the zoo, as Jonathan Shire so famously and picturesquely put it. The animals running the zoo. I expect when Ita Buttrose took over the ABC, I really expected that things would take a journalistic turn for the better, but they didn't. It's got worse and worse. It really is now the Aboriginal Broadcasting Corporation, pure and simple. I mean, there is no way 3% of the population could dominate the amount of airtime provided to it by the national broadcaster. Now, it doesn't make any sense unless somewhere there is written down a prescription for every single news and current affairs program. You have to have so many minutes worth of Aboriginal stories. Could that possibly be? It looks like it. It really makes a joke of it, doesn't it? The simple thing is treat everybody the same. Isn't that the ideal, the gold standard? Unless, of course, there is a particular angle or necessity to cover an Aboriginal story, by all means. But I get the feeling they have to go out there and look and find and forage. You just don't do it because the content of the story doesn't justify it. And that goes for stories about white people, pink people, green people, any coloured people. We're not looking to place stories in the news or the media simply on the basics or the participant's skin colour. The participant has a particular skin colour which determines whether they get in the news or the current affairs program. That's racism. Stupid. Who thought of that? Is anybody honest enough at the ABC to give me a ring on Friday, jeremycordeaux.com, and tell me how that happens? Because I don't understand it. 850 people still missing. I think the last time we talked about the fires in Hawaii, there were 112 850 people are missing after the Hawaiian fires. Let's hope they're just missing and not lost. The governmental intergenerational report. Sounds fancy, doesn't it? It's all about what we can afford and what we can't going forward through the years. This governmental report into future spending comes out on Thursday in all its, I suspect, gory details. And I can tell you, the NDIS has exploded again and will be a major, if not insoluble, problem for the future. Thank you, Julia Gillard. Sure, I know it has helped a lot of people, but you can only do what you can do, and you have to work within the money that you have. Really is sort of that simple, isn't it? 3 more Sydney councils have banned the connection of and the installation of new gas appliances. There's, let me see, Sydney, Waverley and Parramatta. Half a dozen councils in Victoria have done exactly the same thing. Stupid left-wing voodoo nonsense. While electricity remains almost unaffordable, yes, gas, obviously, the cleanest, cheapest, most readily available alternative, being denied by the, I don't know, flat earthers. Do they really think that 1.3% pollution or emissions that the earth, that Australia puts out, is worth all this personal discomfort for people? They obviously do. If you follow these things, if you have superannuation, you should have a passing interest in it. We all have superannuation. BHP's profits have crashed. Don't know if you saw that. 58%. BHP, the big Australian. Profits down 58%. BHP is, of course, a bellwether for China. Shares for BHP down 1.3% on the announcement yesterday. I think we should watch that with interest. Here's a bit of good news. Wirra Wirra, the big Southern Vales winery, has just signed a huge deal with a big American distributor, Galway. They're going to supply the United States coast to coast, a big boost for the McLaren Vale. Now, we are talking very big volumes here, very big volumes. Church Block, which is a beautiful wine, one of the best $20 a bottle wines on the market. Terrific. Now, once the Americans get to try that against some of those Napa Valley wines, well, they will love it. So if you get the opportunity to snap up some Church Block, I'd do it before they become scarce and expensive. On the other side of the balance, or the scale, we've got the basics. You know, the day-to-day foods that we all need. Supermarket foods. Fruit and vegetables, up 40%. I sort of could understand a while back the vegetables going up because of the floods. But, you know, bananas up 42%, pears 40%, bread, rice, all up. Makes balancing the budget a little bit more difficult, doesn't it? Anyway, look, we go through these ups and downs. I just hope it's not because we are exporting stuff that we are looking after the local market before we attempt to send things off overseas. I heard, and you know, Pete would be better to talk about this than me, but I heard the CEO of the Crows football team criticising the league and the umpire's decision with regard to that goal. Pete, what do you reckon should have happened last Saturday?
Absolute disgrace. I mean, my solution would be, because it doesn't just affect the Crows, it also affected Geelong. They now make the final eight.
Sure.
What should happen is, on the bye between the end of the minor round and the finals, they should do two 20-minute quarters between Sydney and Adelaide and get a decision.
Because that wasn't decisive, was it? It was just minuscule.
Yeah, it was a goal. Adelaide won that match.
Yes, I know, but the thing was so tight.
Yeah.
But clearly, you could see on the screen it was a goal. It didn't hit the post. How did the guy not see that? I know. Anyway, they're trying to get out of it with as much face as they possibly can, because if the fans start to lose faith in the umpires and the scoring, it's all lost. That was the game between the Crows and the Swans, and it was pivotal for the Crows because they could have got into the final eight. It surprised me, though, when I heard the head of the Crows describe the club or the league, I'm not quite sure which at this point, but I think it was probably the league, as a multi-million-dollar business. I would interject and say, well, the AFL is really a multi-billion-dollar business. But it was interesting for me because it was for the first time ever I heard anyone refer to the AFL or the league in those honest terms, describing it as a business. Now, it's usually described as a charity, which of course it certainly isn't. But the charity carries the business of being tax deductible, which would be very important to the league. But I think we will have to reach a time where we look at these, and not just the AFL, but in all honesty, the tennis, multi-billion-dollar business. Cricket, multi-billion-dollar business. And you've got all sorts of other sporting codes that treat themselves and are treated like charities, even though they are multi-billion-dollar businesses writing huge deals for television rights and checks to players. And it really is a very strange sort of system that they perpetuate. I suggested, I think, if I've got time, October 14 would be the date for the referendum. I think that's looking, or starting to look, pretty right. I think the no people think they have it won. I think they do. Or maybe they're just sort of putting on a brave face or something, I don't know. Penny Wong and the Labor Party reckon they can get South Australia over the line. Over the line and into the what? It interests me. Time and time again, these people keep on talking about, they don't want to talk about the voice, the yes or the no. They want to talk about recognition. Will you vote for recognition? What they mean is, of course, the yes vote or the no vote. Recognition has got nothing to do with it. But they think that is a much more palatable, acceptable word. Please don't be fooled by that. They're not talking about recognition. They are talking about you giving this thing the yes vote, which will open up the floodgates to what they want. I figure that because they don't They just don't want to frighten the horses, so they're slipping this recognition thing in all the time. Don't be fooled by that. Thank you very much for viewing the Court of Public Opinion, ladies and gentlemen. Before I leave you, I'll give you some dates. If you're having a birthday, happy wedding anniversary. August 23, it is the 23rd. 1617. On this day, the first one-way street opens in London. Now, who would chronicle that? Who would remember that? Who would write that down? It's amazing, isn't it? 1904, the automobile tyre chain was patented. What's that, Pete? They're the chains that you put on the tyres when you're going into the snow?
That's what I believe, yeah.
Yeah, well, that sounds right. 1942, World War II, the last cavalry charge in history takes place in Russia. The Italian Slovenia Cavalleria charged the Soviet infantry. 1942. Okay. On this day, Peter Thompson, Australian golfer, British Open, seniors champion, born Victoria. Caroline says, daughter Fiona went to school with me. Because Caroline does the dates. And we both like to watch Doctor Who. Yes, it is amazing what an education can do for you. 1928, Peter Thompson. All right. Mount Vesuvius begins stirring, not erupting, but stirring on this day, the day of Vulcan, the Roman god of fire. It goes on to destroy Pompeii. The year was 79 AD. 1839 on this day, the British capture Hong Kong from China. 1912, the year my mother was born, Gene Kelly, American dancer, singer, actor, choreographer, film director, an American in Paris, on the town, singing in the rain, was born. He died in 1996. Would have been about the same time my mother died. They were getting on to 100. 1926, Rudolph Valentino, the Italian actor and silent screen movie, The Sheik, The Eagle. He dies of a relapse from pleurisy. I didn't think pleurisy could kill you. Pleurisy. At the age of 31 in New York City on this day in 1926, The Big Sleep, directed by Howard Hawks, starring Humphrey Bogart as Philip Marlowe and Lauren Bacall, premieres in 1946. Barbara Eden, the American actress, I Dream of Jeannie, was born 1931. And interestingly, on the same day, actor Harry Lagman, as a spoonerism. No, Larry Hagman, the actor. 1995, Larry Hagman receives a liver transplant. There you go. 1929, Vera Miles, American actress, Psycho. The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance was born. And what else can I tell you, just quickly? Ringo quits the Beatles over a disagreement, temporarily. That was in 1968. 1974, John Lennon reports seeing a UFO over New York City. 2005, the Hurricane Katrina forms over the Bahamas, later becoming a Category 5 disastrously destructive hurricane. Rick Springfield, Australian singer, Speak to the Sky, Jessie's Girl, actor in General Hospital, born in 1949. First Japanese commercial ship visits San Francisco, carrying tea in 1872, and one more, Mars, on this day in 1924, the closest approach to Earth since the 10th century. Thank you so much for being with us. Look forward to your company come Friday, jeremycordo.com, 9 till 12, live streaming. Peter Clayton and I will be there. Believe in yourself, and bye for now.